So we want to get into our first lifestyle conversation for today. And we have a guest who is joining us from all the way in South Africa. He is very big in the creative industry, the entertainment industry down in South Africa. He is a producer as well as a DJ. 37 MPH. Good morning.
Habari yako. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, who taught you habari yako?
You know, I lived in Kenya for almost a year and a half. While I was the musical director for Coke Studio Africa.
Which other Swahili word do you know?
So I definitely learned some Swahili while I was there.
All right, we'll be teaching you some new words before we get to wind this conversation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Asante sana. It's so good to be here.
All right, maybe you could start by giving us your social media handles so that our viewers can also get to interact with you on the socials.
No problem. My handle on Twitter is @37mph, Instagram @37mph. Same thing as on Facebook, 37mph.
All right, so we'll be getting feed in not too long. So let's just get straight into it. And first of all, I know so many people get to wonder about your age. Where did that come from?
Okay, firstly, my name's Mpho. My birth name is Mpho, MPHO, which means gift. And then the numbers 37 are very significant in my life. I believe that I'm a spirit person. I have a body and I have a spirit. So I'm spirit, soul, and body 7 days a week. And then MPH is my name. So which is pretty much a name that I use to like hide the identity of me making music behind my parents' back.
All right, interesting. You know, so many people don't always have a strong or impactful meaning behind their names because it's entertainment, but good to know that there is a story behind that. So we just want to understand how your journey has been, but let's go way back to, you know, times growing up. How was life for you as a little kid?
I think life was really good. I grew up in the Eastern Cape, around King Williamstown in Phakamisa. So, you know, things were really calm. I have a close family. I have a brother and I have a sister. So I'm the middle child. We grew up in a musical family. My dad always played music. He had an amazing voice. He could whistle like a bird. My mom always listened to gospel music and African music. So I grew up pretty much around music. And then at the age of 11, I had the urge to want to play piano. From watching the band play at church, I was like, I definitely want to get involved and learn how to play music. And so pretty much that's how the bug bit me in terms of me playing music and starting out.
All right. Hey, being the middle child, you know, we always get to see how middle children have a hard time growing up. Did you have any of those two weird middle child incidents and tendencies growing up?
Listen, I think I still carry some of my middle child tendencies. You know, I remember growing up, like being super fussy. You know, you're in the car and then your brother and your sister are too close. You're like, just give me some space. You know? That type of thing, you know? And also, I think the other tendency of being the middle child, you are overlooked because the older brother is the main achiever, you know, and the little one is obviously the baby of the family. And then where does that leave you as the middle child?
You had for yourself. But before you got to discover, you know, your inclination to music, what was the dream? Did you have those many, you know, career options that kids usually have when they're growing up, or you discovered music was something that was speaking to you at a very young age and you stuck to it through and through?
You know, funny enough, I have photos at home of me before grade school at creche, of me being a doctor. And there was a play that we did. So I pretty much switched between two roles. I was a doctor, then I was some kind of a singer, you know. So those are the aspirations, like being a doctor, like at very young age. But when I started discovering music, I knew definitely that I wanted to pursue something in music, but there was no name for it. We're not exposed to the career options of you are a music producer because I grew up in a very small town. But I think pretty much it was the choices were either music or something very technical like engineering, which is what I ended up doing anyway.
All right. So in terms of the support that you were getting with, you were leaning towards music and the creative space, how was it with your parents? Because we are, at least speaking from my space here, we have parents who are, pro this really technical, fancy, quote-unquote, careers that are considered to be mainstream and stable. In terms of the support and the influence that your parents had in regards to you wanting to do music versus these other careers, how was that for you?
Listen, that one is a bit of a touchy subject because I was fully technical. I went in and enrolled at UCT to study engineering, electrical engineering, and then only in my final year I dropped out. Because I'd been doing music on the side. So, but literally, the family pretty much ostracized me. Like it was like, whatever that I did for the first 3 years of my career did not matter, Yeah. I could have the biggest song on radio, sell many units, and it never landed. It's like, okay, your hobby, you could actually just go and do engineering until one particular release. I did one release with a guy called Malik, which I think that piece of music resonated with South Africa. It was on all of the stations, and particularly a radio station called Mhlobo Wenene, which plays Xhosa music. And that song was on high rotation. My parents never knew that it was me that produced that song until I got home and I did the usual thing of bringing a stack of CDs home just to show them what I'd been working on that year. And then when they realized, they're like, oh, I know this song. When they looked in the cover, they saw that I produced and composed it. And then it changed everything. They're like, okay, cool.
And how was that moment for you when you finally saw your parents just opening and quote-unquote accepting this version of who you are in terms of music and it being what speaks to you? What did that feel like, and what does that mean for you?
I think, that when that moment landed, when I kind of got that affirmation from my parents and like, okay, what you're doing is good. It felt amazing. I felt a sense of release that I didn't have to hide anything anymore. I didn't have to, be behind the scenes or downplay my craft or downplay my talent or any of the things that I did privately at home or like in a professional sense. So that kind of gave me a lease, like a lease of life, just to get out there and do more.
Yeah.
So that, because I kind of knew, okay, this is the pocket. And which brings the success, and also just to have your parents backing, knowing that they are feeling comfortable that your future is secure, kind of gives you ease and relaxation to carry on with what you're doing.
And maybe what would you have to just tell all other parents who have children who are so creative, they express themselves through music, through DJing, through just doing gigs, and we find so many parents who are struggling with this idea of it being such an indefinite career choice. I mean, what if you had the opportunity to speak to all those parents who are watching us this morning, what would you tell them about supporting their kids in this space?
To the parents that are listening, it's very important to nurture the gifts. If someone has a gift, whether it's in the arts or it's in any industry, it's very important to give the support, because that's the first affirmation that anybody needs to have in life. Some people are different from others, but it's very important to affirm our children in the career paths that they choose. And also, if you spot those things early enough in life, I would suggest to the parents to send them off to music school, to art school, so that they're around the people that do what they do, so that they can get their career guidance. Within every field, there's many subsectors of it, and the more exposure they get into it, and the more that they feel comfortable to navigate that space, because up until the 2000s, the arts industry it's something that's most dark-skinned parents are not exposed to.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's not something that's tried and tested. Every time someone does music, they either end up in drugs or whatever, or they end up poor. So there is that sense of, will my child be okay? But the more you research the field and expose them to the things that they might be going through, it gives them more of a chance to actually take a leap earlier and succeed.
All right.
And also, I think do as much research as you can.
Yeah.
The music industry, the entertainment game is very tricky. So you kind of need to know the law. Even if you have to like spur your child on to do maybe law on the side or business administration as part of their curriculum. Even from a young age, get them to intern with like labels or get projects like Coke Studio or go to several studios. I mean, there's some great studios in Kenya that I've worked with. That kind of exposure sets them up for a bright future.
And just speaking of the entertainment industry, maybe how is it down in South Africa? How would you describe the entertainment industry in your country?
The entertainment industry in South Africa is always booming. We are blessed with so much talent. There's always someone new. There's always new actors. There's always new singers that are coming up in the industry. It's booming. There is more than enough space for everybody. So hence, I believe in the phrase "open up the industry." Let new actors come in. Let new singers come in. Let new producers come in, because it makes the industry grow. It makes it sustainable for the ones coming in, the ones that are wishing to come into the industry. So I would say it's flourishing. It's good. It's highly competitive, but it's booming. It is something that people can do for a living and retire off of music.
I can imagine, just looking at the industry, given there's a space for so much, it also calls for the creatives to invest in themselves in terms of the skills and their competencies and just building on the skills. And in light of COVID-19, it taught us so much when it comes to professionalizing the industry. I don't know, how did COVID just change the dynamics of operation in the entertainment scene from what you saw?
Wow, I can only comment very, on my personal experience.
Sure.
The COVID-19 changed a lot of things for my personal life. In that, for the last 5 years, most of my income and most of my colleagues' income was coming from performing, or no, not really performing, for music directing big shows. So from Coke Studio Africa to The Voice South Africa, The Voice Afrique, Francophone, The Voice Nigeria, being the musical directors for those shows and doing like shows like Mzansi Viewers Choice. So, and those are shows that take months. Like some projects are 2 months, some are 3 months, a long project. And when COVID, I remember when we did the Mzansi Viewers Choice Awards last year in March.
Yes,
that was the end. We looked at each other. We're like, this is pretty much the end of us doing these kind of shows. We're definitely not going to have any shows like this. So that meant no income for anybody, and I was blessed. I just signed a contract with the production company, which does the show called Isono on BET Africa. So that kind of changed the gameplay for me. I knew, okay, for the next 12 months, I'll be in the studio writing music for the show and composing the themes for the show. So that was pretty much taken care of, but not enough to say I can rest, And then, that kind of forced myself to start doing other things that I hadn't been doing in a long time. For instance, I started a channel on YouTube in which I talk about music production. It's called Kicks and Snares. There are other people in South Africa, which there's been a boom in the YouTube market where, people are focused on content creation and making money off different income streams because, we can't perform. There are other DJs like DJ PH and DJ Shimza in South Africa who created a massive platform where there's a show on a Friday and a Saturday just based on booking DJs. And it's an entertainment show from 7 p.m. all the way till to midnight. People are entertained by the DJs. So it's almost like bringing the club experience into
straight
people's
to your
homes.
space.
Pardon me?
Yeah, just bring the whole entertainment to you, straight to where you are.
Exactly. So a lot of people have had to survive via those channels. Other people have created all kinds of conversations. There's a young lady, her name is Nina Hasty. She's like literally brought her journey, of dealing with mental health, and brought psychologists on to all the social media channels, and we watched the lives of us getting counseling online, and there's been board games, people play card games online. So there's creatives are creatives. That's the nature of what we do. And I think that the tool that we need to survive is just to stay connected to creativity and just take the leap of faith and go forward.
But do you think this whole COVID-19 has just taught us as creatives the importance of just professionalizing the industry and understanding the value of making the most of each platform that you have as a creative?
I'll definitely agree with that statement. I remember speaking to a PR agent in South Africa.
Yeah.
And he said, you are literally the fifth person who has approached me to ask me to do PR. Because people are definitely formalizing what they do. Because without you formalizing what you do and how you do it and exposing your talent, then pretty much, your options are a bit limited. So I've definitely seen, and I agree that in this day and age, because of COVID restrictions, people are a little bit more serious than before on how they present themselves to the public.
All right. Now, let's get to talk a bit about, the projects that you have been part of. And let's go as far back as when you got your first major project. Take us to that space.
Wow. I consider every single one of them important.
Yeah.
But the first one was pretty much a big deal in my life. I was a student at UCT, and I kind of managed to submit some songs to a record label, and they signed 2 songs immediately. And then when that was happening, I met a rapper, a very famous rapper. His dad was the warden of my res at UCT. So, and I produced some tracks all inside my resume. So we produced a song, and within weeks, that song was on radio, high rotation. Now, I don't know if anyone can relate. So you are a student going to upper campus, you in a shuttle with all the other students, and you hear your song.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous,
You were living the life.
And at that moment, you can't even brag. You can't say, yay, that's my song. No one's going to believe you, So that was the first major win for me. And the second one was shortly after I came up to Joburg to work.
Yeah.
My label kind of put me in a tough spot. They phoned me at 11 p.m. They said, we need you to compose something for a TV show about money, The Apprentice, South Africa. It's coming to South Africa. So can you write something you need to present by 8 o'clock in the morning? So from 11 p.m., I was in studio, trying to write melody after melody. Eventually at 2 o'clock, I crack, I fall asleep. 4 o'clock, I'm like, okay, I'm under pressure. I have to submit. And I wrote a melody, pa, pa, pa. So I wrote my first jingle.
Yeah.
And the lady came from the production company, Tammy. I presented the music, and I was briefed by my label manager. He said to me, don't let her leave without the music. So even if she likes it a little bit, make sure you burn a CD. So I managed to burn a CD, and she walked away from that interview with that music.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And then another big win was being pretty much like the sound architect for a group called Josie, which is a South African outfit with Crazy Lou, Ishmael, Bongani Fasi, and Dalez. That was really amazing because we're formulating a new sound. That sound never existed. We needed to create a hip hop sound. This is back in 2005. We needed to create a hip hop sound that we would be able to export. So, and the formula was take something that's South African, like Mpakanga music, traditional music, and put those beats behind it. And that was a major win. And then another major win was producing ex-convicts. These 2 guys who had just come from prison. I was tasked. They were like, yo, can you produce these 2 guys? And these guys became stars. One of them became an actor on TV. And then another amazing big win was there's a guy called JR Africa. I met him when I was a student, And at the time I was signed to a label, we spent a lot of time writing songs, formulating what the future would look like.
Yeah.
And I went independent straight after that. And then me and him signed a deal. We're like, let's make some music together. And we're both young. We're super young. We made our first song and we went to promote it. I remember going into a car. We're all broke. We're like 100 Rand to our names. And then we played at every single party. When we got back to Joburg, we got that song on radio, literally instant playlist. It was the biggest song in the country. So, I mean, I can list so many really cool things that have happened in my career. So every single one of them is special.
You know, from a very personal point of view, like criticizing yourself, how would you say your music and the way you do music has evolved over the years? What has it morphed into?
Wow, that is sure, that is such a tough question. I think I allow, you know, personally, I allow my sound to evolve with who I am, you know, and I allow the things that are around me, the music I listen to, the things that I see in my head, the things that I want to do in the future to influence how I create music. For instance, right now, my circle of friends, I have a friend who's an R&B and hip hop DJ. His name is O'Neill, Africa. And then I have another friend, Keba, I call him international. He's an executive. He's well-traveled, but he loves Afrobeats. So, you know, that fusion of those sounds is pretty much the space that I live in, and the places that I go to usually play that kind of music. So in my journey as a composer and producer, I allow a lot of influences to influence how I create music, you know, be it, you know, vocal music or indie music. I try and allow life to influence the music I make. You know, one of the philosophies is that music, for me, my personal philosophy as a composer is like life is full of moments.
Yeah.
And music is pretty much how I document those moments. They're sad moments, they're happy moments, they're, you know, joyful moments, and there's somber moments. And all of those experiences need to be somehow documented into music. We need to document them into something that the rest of the world can, or anyone in the world, even if it's one person that can empathize with that, for me, that's good enough.
Absolutely. And there's someone who's watching us on Twitter just saying, this is Lennox saying that during this pandemic period as an artist, I have learned to really engage my online audience even more, as there weren't many shows and appearances that one would make. And completely agreeing with what you are saying. You know, you just learn to evolve as the space continues to dictate. There's also Joseph who's saying, what's like the buzzword when something is so good in South Africa? You know, here in Kenya, when the music is so good, unasabanga, you say, ingoma inasababisha. Huh? I don't know, in down south, when the music is so good, what's like the buzzword that is happening there? This is Joseph who's asking.
There's so many words, like, you know, pisa, you know, it means like the song is hot. It's too hot.
You don't have like one word that, you know, it's very native, that is like, yo, man, yo. Something that you go off?
Yasha number. Like, I would say Yasha number, like, which means the song is hitting.
Yasha number.
Yeah, Yasha number. Yeah, Yasha number, you know.
All right, we'll be getting back.